O Irã afirma que um ataque aéreo israelense bombardeou sua embaixada na Síria, resultando na morte de um alto comandante. Uma fonte de segurança libanesa afirma que um dos mortos foi Mohamed Reza Zahed, comandante sênior do Corpo da Guarda Revolucionária do Irã. O presidente do Irã diz que o ataque de Israel não ficará sem resposta.
Coming in out of the... I do want to get right to some breaking news coming in out of the Middle East. Take a look at these images that are just coming into our newsroom, as we have learned that a top Iranian commander is believed to be among the dead after an apparent Israeli airstrike next to Iran's embassy in Syria that also killed 5 other people. Footage did show the strike in the Damascus area of Nesta hit a building adjacent to the Iranian embassy. That is according to Iranian media. Now, the targeted building was Iran's consulate and ambassador's home. I want to talk more about what we know so far, so let's bring in Mark Chandler, the Director of Government Relations at Coastal Carolina University and a professor of practice. He is also a former senior defense intelligence official. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to be here with us, Mark.
You're welcome, and good afternoon, Josh.
Good afternoon. So obviously all of these developments here are just starting to come in. There's a lot still left to figure out. Can you break down for me what we know so far about all of this?
Well, what it appears is that Israel had some extremely valuable and accurate intelligence. You know, previously we had talked about Israel doing preemptive strikes. And so with that intelligence, and it was what we call perishable, we have to act on it now. They had the location of this IRGC Quds Force commander who was located in that consulate in Damascus. Now, when you look at the video, you look at the footage, you can see that Israel used precise munitions. Now, I say Israel has not acknowledged this strike at this time, but this is typical Israeli action when they have such perishable and actionable intelligence to go in there and be so precise in this strike to take this senior commander within the Quds Force out while he was in Damascus, probably meeting with Lebanese Hezbollah.
And I want to ask you overall, because you and I have covered a lot of topics related to the war over the last 6 months here. What is the significance of this situation here? If it was Israel that did conduct this airstrike here, we now know that the senior commander is dead. What is the significance of that overall?
This is extremely significant, Josh. For context, this is the senior most Israeli Quds Force commander who has been killed since we took out Soleimani in Baghdad in 2017. So this General Zadi, that was the Quds Force commander's name, he is the one responsible for all liaison activity with Lebanese Hezbollah. He's also responsible for all the arms transshipments that take place from Iran into Hezbollah, so Hezbollah can continue to attack northern Israel or all of Israel. So when you look at that, this was a very senior guy, probably number 2 to the overall Quds Force commander. So put that in the context. Israel had a very proactive approach. We talked about that strike in Aleppo, which was a big transshipment point that took out Hezbollah commanders. I wouldn't be surprised if General Zadi was either just leaving that meeting up there or was soon to be there. So it seems that Israel's been tracking this to try to cut off the head of the snake, if you will, to prevent further Iranian and Hezbollah actions.
All right, so the question a lot of people are asking right now, what is the likely response from Iran that could happen? Do we expect there will be a pretty significant response?
Yes, there definitely will be a significant response from Iran, but they have several options. Now, when we took out Soleimani, they launched about 17 ballistic missiles at one of our air bases where we house troops in Iraq. And so that caused a lot of injuries, battlefield injuries at that time. So on a scale of escalation, Iran could actually use Lebanese Hezbollah to have a massive, into the hundreds of missile counterattacks going from Lebanon itself into Israel or all across Israel. That would be option 1. Now, what the news isn't covering a lot is there was an attack on southern Israel last night by some Iraqi militia that are supported solely by Iran. So they could use those militia out of Iraq to conduct some sort of barrage, say, attack UAV response. The third would be an actual missile strike from Iran itself, like they did against the U.S. forces back in 2017. This would be significant. This would be Iran leaving no doubt that this is the response. They do have missiles that can range Israel, so they could launch them. Now, if that happens, it could be significant in that Israel will not take a strike from Iran proper. So you would likely see a counterattack from from Israel against Iran itself. So we're on the precipice of some escalation here.
And I want to go in reverse a little bit, because most people have heard of Hamas, they've heard of Hezbollah, but explain a little bit about who the Iranian Revolutionary Guard really is.
So when you look across the Iranian military, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, that's the elite forces. They get the best equipment, the best training. They have the most fervent supporters inside the military. So this is kind of the elite of the elite. However, what we're looking at here is this was one of the Quds Force commanders. So the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's Quds Force is even more elite within that organization. So you have the IRGC that has its own Navy, its own Air Force, its own attack UAVs, separate from the rest of the military. The IRGC commander, General Khani, answers directly to the Supreme Commander. So this is the elite of the elite, the best trained, the best equipped, and the ones that actually, this is where all the trainers for the Houthis, Hezbollah, Syrian militia, Iraqi militia all come from, the IRGC and the IRGC Quds Force.
What should we be watching for next as this situation, again, we are coming up on the 6-month mark since that October 7th attack by Hamas on Israel that essentially launched this war. What should we be watching for next overall here?
Well, I would estimate, and it's one of those few things I don't want to really do as an intelligence official, but I would estimate that what we have in about the next 24 hours is a bold Iranian response. Now, as I said, that could be from Hezbollah, so you could see significant action and missile fire coming from Lebanese Hezbollah, or we could actually see a strike from Iran. But that's the part that gets touchy, because Iran knows if it does that, Israel will strike back directly and immediately against launch sites that Iran could use. But Iran, unfortunately, has options, and they've got options that come at Israel from the north and from the east and also from the southeast. So you could see the Houthis, IRGC, you could see Lebanese Hezbollah all converging to try to overwhelm Israeli defenses at this time.
All right, Mark Chandler, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us and break down some of these big topics and developments. Is there anything else that you want to add before I let you go?
Well, when we start to look at this, Israel obviously is continuing its proactive and preemptive efforts, and that goes with the strike in Aleppo. It goes against this strike here. So their intelligence apparatus is really working well, and they're trying to keep this from escalating. This is a significant message to Iran. It depends on if Iran wants to escalate this or just strike back and then let it go. So the next few days are going to be critical to what we see about escalation across a broader conflict in the Middle East at this time. So it's definitely time to be watching.
All right, Mark, thank you again for being here with us. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, Josh. My pleasure.
And I do want to take you out to a live image that we do have, one of many cameras around here. This is again coming in from Jerusalem as demonstrators are putting up tents there outside of the Knesset for the second day in a row. They are gathering in Jerusalem to demand new elections and the end of the government of Prime Minister Netanyahu, criticizing, among other things, the way that he has handled the war here against Hamas over the last 6